In this video, we're going to continue our NHL prediction series where we're predicting the final standings for the 2019-2020 NHL regular season. Today, we're taking a look at the Metropolitan Division. We'll rank those teams coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're going to continue our NHL prediction series, and we're going to take a look at the Metropolitan Division, and I'm going to give you my predictions and previews on how these teams are going to finish for the 2019-2020 NHL season. Now, of course, we've already completed the Atlantic Division. After this, we'll be moving on to do the two divisions over in the Western Conference. That'll be coming up here in the next day or so stay tuned for that. Now, let's dive in and take a look here at the Metropolitan Division teams. We're going to start at the bottom, who I think is going to finish last, and we'll work all the way up to first place. Now, kicking things off in 8th place is going to be a team who's going to be falling down in the standings this coming year, and that's the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, of course, we saw them make some bold moves last year, go all in to try to make a playoff run. They did manage to win their first ever playoff series in franchise history, but then they lost in the second round, and they did have a mass exodus this offseason. They lost Sergei Bobrovsky, their longtime all-star starting goaltender. They lost Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel, who they acquired at the NHL trade deadline, and they also lost all-star forward Artemi Panarin. There's a lot of firepower going out the door, their top goaltender, and I just don't have a lot of confidence in this team moving forward. Now, I do realize there are some pretty decent pieces left behind. They still have a pretty decent blue line. When you have Zach Werenski and Seth Jones as your top pair, you're certainly in pretty decent shape when it comes to that. They do have some other forwards remaining that they can put the puck in the net. They did sign unrestricted free agent forward Gustav Nyquist, but he's certainly not going to be anywhere near the replacement for all the guys who walked out the door. They also lost team president John Davidson, who made his way to the New York Rangers and helped attract forward Artemi Panarin to go to the Big Apple with him. So certainly with everything that's gone on there, I just don't see how this team can really win a ton of games. I don't have confidence in the goaltending. Obviously, Jonas Korpisalo was not an established starter. I know they have Elvis Merzlikins as well, who's likely going to be making the roster as the other goaltender on this team. He has a lot of potential. He's a good-looking prospect goaltender, but he's unproven at this point and hasn't had any NHL action under his belt as of yet. So, in my opinion, there's just too many question marks, and there's just too much about this team that's too much different from last year, and I just don't see them having a whole lot of success as is, and unfortunately I have them in last place. In 7th place, I have the New Jersey Devils. Now, the Devils are a team who made a lot of good moves this offseason. I think Ray Shero's done a lot of great things, and they had one of the best offseasons. Unfortunately, I just had a really hard time deciding who was going to finish really anywhere from 2nd all the way down to 7th. I really think it's going to be a dogfight amongst a lot of these teams. Most of these teams have made a lot of improvements throughout the year and are going to be better this year, and I do see New Jersey being a fair bit better. There's just a lot of things that I'm not sure of. They're going to have some pretty young pieces like Jack Hughes on this team. I think Jack Hughes is going to have a terrific rookie year. I see him being a great NHL player longer term, but obviously he hasn't proven himself in the NHL as of yet. They also added a forward in Nikita Gusev, who also looks to have a lot of potential coming over from the KHL, but at the same time, unproven as of right now. But they didn't give up too much to get him, and I do think he'll be okay with the Devils. I can see him doing some decent things, but just not really sure that it's going to be enough to move them up the standings. Of course, they also acquired PK Subban. Subban is a little bit of a risky move as well. He's got a great resume, but he did have a really down year last year. Can he bounce back and be that top defender that the Devils were looking for $9 million per year? Certainly hard to say. I do see them being better. They got a lot of good pieces. They also brought in veteran Wayne Simmons as well. I do like a lot of the things the Devils have done. I'm just not sure that there's enough in there to really help them climb up the standings a whole lot further than where I have them. Next up in 6th place, I've got the New York Rangers. They're another team that's had a terrific offseason, and I really struggle with this one as well. I really like a lot of the moves that the Rangers have made. I'm just not sure that they're going to get much further up the standings, at least for right now. Longer term, I think this team is in terrific shape, and they're going to accomplish a lot of great things. I just think there's going to be a lot of young players on this team. They're going to need a little bit more time to grow. Obviously, they brought in Artemi Panarin, the top free agent signing of the offseason. They also brought in some some new blue liners, including Jacob Trouba. They brought in Adam Fox, who they acquired from Carolina earlier. I mean, that's going to help their blue line substantially, but still there's a lot of inexperience there now on that blue line. Then you throw in some other young forwards like Kakko and Kravtsov. They're going to be terrific players, but right now they're unproven, and they're going to be having a major adjustment to playing in the NHL. So as much as I really like a lot of the moves that the Rangers have made, I can see them making some significant improvements, and over a couple years down the road, I can see them being a really strong team. But for right now, I see them only making up as high as 6th place for the coming year. Next up in 5th place, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, I know many people might disagree with the Penguins here, as obviously they're a pretty strong team that's had a lot of success over really the last decade or more, but at this point in time, I think the Penguins are going to start to decline. Now, even though they had to make the Phil Kessel trade based on everything we've heard and learned about what was going on behind the scenes, I understand the move, but I don't think they can really fully replace the offense that he was able to bring to them on the ice. Obviously, they have some interesting forwards that are coming in as new people to the team, including Alex Galchenyuk and Brandon Tanev and Dominic Cahoon. And I do like those players individually, and I think that there is a possibility they very well might mesh well with the existing forwards that are currently with that team. And Crosby and Malkin really can make anybody better. They have some decent goaltending as well with Matt Murray at the helm. Their blue line isn't too bad as well. So I do think that they can probably hang on to 5th place and not drop any lower in the standings. But you take out Phil Kessel, you make some other moves here. I just don't know that there's enough proven there on that roster besides Crosby and Malkin that are going to keep them up there any higher in the standings. I just personally think this is going to be the year that we see the Penguins team really decline a little bit further and really be in jeopardy of missing the playoffs. Next up in 4th place, we've got the New York Islanders. Now, the Islanders had a terrific year last year, managed to win a playoff round as well, certainly accomplished a lot of great things, really bounced back well after what had transpired the year before. They have a terrific coach in Barry Trotz. He really implemented some great defensive systems. They were one of the top defensive teams in the NHL, and that was a big reason for a big part of their success. But the one big loss that this team had was losing goaltender Robin Lehner. I realized they brought in Semyon Varlamov as a replacement, who does have a pretty decent resume, but I really, at this point, I like Leonard better as a goaltender. I think he's a little bit more consistent, and he's really in the zone, coming off a terrific year. I do understand their longer-term strategy here is probably to bring in Varlamov, who will help bring Ilya Sorokin over from the KHL. They have the same agent. They have an older Russian goaltender there to mentor him. Makes a lot of sense, but I'm just not sure that they're going to be a better team with Varlamov instead of Robin Lehner. For the most part, there hasn't been a lot of other significant changes. They did add Derek Brassard as well, a little bit extra depth, who can probably be their number 3, number 4 center iceman for the coming year. He's certainly not quite the offensive player he used to be, so he'll play likely in their bottom 6. But overall, Barry Trotz is an excellent coach. He will try to use a lot of the same systems, and for the most part, with a lot of the same players, they should still be able to have a reasonable amount of success. I'm just not quite sure the goaltending is going to be quite as good as it was the year before, and obviously Thomas Greiss had a good year. He's still there, but obviously he's proven in the past and putting together back-to-back solid years is something he struggled with too. So if his numbers step back and Varlamov doesn't play as well as Leonard did, then this team is going to be a little bit weaker defensively, a little weaker in goal, and I just don't see them having quite as much success as last year. So that's why I have them here in 4th place. Next up in 3rd place, we have the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, the Flyers have made some pretty significant changes to their blue line for the coming year. They'll have a first full year with goaltender Carter Hart, and I really think this team is poised to make some significant improvements for the coming year. They have a really solid group of forwards, especially near the top in the first couple lines. They have a lot of guys there that can score. They have some pretty solid two-way forwards as well. They added Kevin Hayes to that mix, and even though I'm not a big fan of the Kevin Hayes contract, he certainly will make that forward group a little bit better and provide a necessary piece that they did not have before. It pushes Nolan Patrick down to the number 3 line, takes the pressure off him a little bit, probably gets him some better matchups when he's on the ice. Hopefully pair him up with some younger forwards as well. Maybe some younger guys that are pushing for roster spots like Morgan Frost or Joel Farabee will get a chance to play in that kind of role with Patrick and really help bring out more of his offensive talents as well. Like I said, and they get a revamped blue line. I just really think this Flyers team is really destined to make a lot of significant improvements for the coming year, and I see them slotting in that number 3 spot in the division to grab a playoff spot. Next up at second place, I have the Carolina Hurricanes, really continuing on from last year's success. Obviously, they had a solid regular season, followed that up by a deep playoff run, and I think they're going to be able to keep that surge going and really have another successful NHL season. Now, they are going to be without their former captain, Justin Williams, at least to start the year. Not quite clear if they're going to name another captain. I don't think they will, at least not right away. I mean, Justin Williams might come back later on. It's hard to say. He has not officially retired, and his status later into the year very well might end up playing a factor in this team's success. They certainly will miss his leadership, but they do have a lot of capable players that are certainly able to help continue on putting up the strong defensive play as well as the offensive numbers as well. I mean, their offense hopefully can continue to grow. They made some solid additions this offseason. They added guys like Ryan Dzingel and Eric Halla, who they picked up from a trade from Vegas for, next to nothing. Of course, they got the Sebastian Aho contract done pretty quickly thanks to the offer sheet from Marc Bergevin. So obviously he's under contract now long term. He's bound to continue his success from last year as well, along with some other guys like Niederreiter and Teravainen. They're going to continue to have some solid years as well in the top six. They also revamped their blue line a little bit, adding free agent defenseman Jake Gardiner. Of course, they just made the big trade involving Justin Falk for Joel Edmondson. Their goaltending's a little bit different. They did lose McElhinney, but they retained Peter Mrazek. So they also acquired James Reimer from the Panthers earlier in the offseason as well. So we'll have Mrazek and Reimer as their goaltending tandem. So hopefully Peter Mrazek can continue to have strong play and build off last season. So when you take a look at the overall changes, I think their blue line is going to be even better, and it was already pretty good. They're going to add even more offense in the forward group. Goaltending can hopefully continue. Rod Brind'Amour has proven to be a very capable coach, and I think they're going to continue to build off last year's success. So that leaves us with another division championship for the Washington Capitals, once again finishing in first place. They're a team that's tough to bet against right now. They have guys playing for contracts like Nicholas Backstrom and Braden Holtby. Of course, you can never count out Alex Ovechkin. I expect him to have another solid, 40 to 50 goal season, be right there in contention for the Rocket Richard Trophy yet again. Year after year, he hasn't been slowing down as of yet. I mean, they did make some minor changes to this team throughout the year, but nothing too crazy. They did lose Brett Connolly to free agency. They let Devontae Smith-Pelly walk as well. They did make some changes on the blue line. Matt Niskanen's no longer there. They also have Radko Gudas. They added Garnet Hathaway. So they certainly had some more toughness. They're certainly going to be even tougher to play against. It's not just Tom Wilson you're going to be on the lookout for now when you're playing against this Washington Capitals team. So they certainly added more grit that way. They certainly have a lot of their top players are still there from before, and there's no reason to think that this Capitals team cannot continue to be division champions and continue to really dominate and be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. I don't see the Capitals being first place in the conference. I think that honor is going to go to the Tampa Bay Lightning for the coming year, but the Capitals won't be too far off the mark, and certainly going to be having another division championships to their franchise record. Of course, as always, remember this is just my opinion. This is based on my own personal thoughts of these teams and what they've done in the offseason and how they will perform for the coming year. If your opinions are different, certainly let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let me know how you'd have these teams ranked for the coming year, and we'll continue the conversation down in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. Stay tuned for the other prediction videos coming up for the other divisions over the next 24 to 48 hours. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.